Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Before I start this video, I just want to let everyone know that this video is for educational purposes only, and I'm not trying to instill fear into anybody. I'm just going to give you the facts that, to the best of my ability, with information that's already out there on the internet. Please do your own research so you can form your own opinions, okay? Now, when emotions run high, it is like amazing how rapidly some people will fall for deception, right? In the early days of the Great Middle East War, we have seen a tsunami of bad information, especially on social media. Many are so eager to run with whatever or anything that seems to be supportive of the side that they are supporting in whatever conflict. But in a lot of cases, the reports that people have been sharing are simply not accurate. This is why when I do videos, and before I publish any videos, I make sure I do an insane amount of research, a lot of research, okay? And if anything changes with that research, I make sure I go back and I edit and I refilm and things like that, okay? In a time of war, we must not allow truth to become a casualty, because what people believe about this conflict has real world consequences. In fact, as I'm recording this video, I found out that protesters are right now swarming the U.S. Embassy in Beirut because they believe that something has happened that Israel has proved conclusively did not happen at all. It is so important to be carefully, and I mean so careful, to investigate the facts before jumping to conclusions. Unfortunately, there's a vast number of people out there seem to be so convinced that it is not necessary to be reasonable and rational at a time like this. Let me start by discussing the Hamas attacks. Okay, I know I've discussed this many times, but sometimes you just got to keep doing it until it gets drilled. You know what I'm saying? Some have attempted, allegedly, to defend Hamas by suggesting that incidents of brutality were isolated and that they were not specifically instructed to go after women and children. But by now, documents that were actually carried by Hamas fighters are revealing the truth. I actually think, was I watching Jason over at the Angry Prepper channel? I know it was him, because he was talking about, what was it, 2 nights ago? The reports. And he said, I haven't seen the reports or something like that that revealed the truth, but there are actually reports. But these newly uncovered documents reveal that Hamas they were 100% directed to kill as many people as possible, with a specific focus on schools and youth centers. I mean, how fucking sick is that? These meticulously rehearsed attacks, how can you rehearse something like this? But it's the truth. They were rehearsed, resulted in a death toll exceeding 1,400 in Israel alone. And this is according to actual official sources. Okay? So Israeli officials say that the attacks were not a byproduct of military action, but rather a central objective, as can be concluded from the documents that were recovered from the bodies of perished militants at the site of the attacks. So these written orders that were carried by Hamas explicitly directed to maximize the human losses and take hostages. Citing one set of orders that specifically targeted the farming community of Alumim, Alumim, instructed militants to achieve the highest level of human losses. Yes. Now, these fighters were ordered to take out as many civilians as possible. Not to mention, elementary schools and youth centers were selected as specific targets. Yeah. So details in these discovered documents also indicate, the primary targets. Like I said, the schools and the centers and stuff like that. And, it just baffles my mind, because as a mom, as an aunt, as a grandmom, my heart is just going rip, So plans for these attacks on communities like, and I know I'm not going to say this correctly, Kfar, Kfar, Aza, Aza, and Nahal Oz were very specific, down to points of entry and modes of transportation for these attackers. So, for instance, in Kfar Sahad, one unit was assigned to contain a new Da'at, D-A-A-T school, while another was to collect hostages and search the Bnei, B-N-E-I, Akiva Youth Center. So if anyone is wondering, this is terrorism. It really truly is. I don't care what anybody says. I'm just sick that this is even happening. I really truly am. So, and there's no possible way to defend, despite student protest rallies to the contrary, in one location that had been attacked by Hamas fighters. It was being reported that at least some babies had been, do I even have to say the word? I myself had not seen actual proof of this, picture or video wise, nor would I even want to. But the reporter that actually first broke this story is not backing down from what they say they saw. The TV reporter who broke this now viral story about the babies, at the hands of Hamas, is standing by her coverage and revealing other acts of unimaginable carnage. Her name is Nicole Zedek, Zedeck. She's a reporter with I-24 News who has been on the ground in Israel since it all began, and said that a man responsible for clearing victims recounted yet another dreadful story. She said, we're hearing more horror stories. He said he found a expectant mother who was okay, and her stomach opened. The baby was still attached by the umbilical cord. She said the baby was stabbed with a knife. Yeah. I hope you could have read my lips with that. Of course, once this story started to get passed around on social media, it began to get exaggerated in more ways than you could possibly imagine. Remember when we were kids, that game Telephone? once one person started it, and then when it got to the last person, it was completely blown out of proportion. So not all of the babies were found in this particular area had been, okay. I don't know why this is so hard, but it appears that at least some of them were. I don't know, a lot of people are not believing this. I guess it's because it's so disgusting that people just don't want to believe it. I know I don't want to believe it, but it is actually true. When I was talking to Jason, the angry prepper, on the phone the other night, we were talking about this, and I said, I think it's been debunked. And he said, okay, good. And, and then, reading about this, and I said, but, if I'm one of those people, I know Jason is, if I can't see it with my own eyes, I'm not going to believe it. You know what I mean? But if you've got boots on the ground over there, like this reporter, and she's saying, yes, I've seen it, she's not going to put her reputation and her job on the line by lying. What is she going to gain? So Hamas, they said that they even released videos on social media that showed them doing this to Israeli soldiers. Honestly, I didn't look for any videos because I don't want to see it. I really don't. I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to handle it. And I'm just being honest with you. So we know that they are into this type of behavior. So Dr. Chen Kugel, who is a scientist at Israel's National Center for Forensic Medicine, he has been examining many of the victims that were brought in during these attacks. And he was asked about the story about the babies, and he confirmed, yes, it's true. So here goes another one. Why would he put his reputation and career on the line by lying? Because what the hell does he have to gain, right? So amid these horrors that defy belief, the past week has seen an extraordinary debate about whether Hamas savages had done this to defenseless babies and children, or had merely, reports of this have been furiously attacked as fake news by some high-profile doubters. And I think that's why we all thought that, God bless you, that it was debunked. But now I'm second guessing everything, and I hate doing that. I hate second guessing everything. I really do, because I want the hardcore 100% facts. I don't want to second guess myself. That's why I say, and I always say, I'm not releasing any video unless I have checked, double checked, and rechecked every single fact. So why are so many people out there so determined to cast doubt on this story? I think it's because we don't want to believe that people would be so disgusting towards defenseless children. Regardless of how gross you may be as an extremist, who would want to do that to an infant? Who? Are you that cold-hearted? Do you have not one brain cell in your brain? I mean, is it because it makes Hamas look bad? Not for nothing, but if you are defending Hamas, you really need to take a very long look in the mirror, because there is something seriously wrong with you and your brain. Period. Because there is no way to ever justify what these kinds of groups have done, is doing, and will continue to do. A colonel in the Israeli military has said that he actually held one of these babies in his arms. For the love of God, can you imagine? He had it. He held it in his arms as he recovered the child from the site. He did not know the reason that they had looked like this and could not state whether they had been cut off, blown off, exploded with a grenade. He said, I can't say. I can say that I saw people without their heads. Maybe you don't want to believe it, and any of the eyewitnesses, okay, because you know what? It's kind of hard to stomach. It's kind of hard to believe. I know, because I'm one of them. Believe whatever you want to believe, because I know I sure in hell am. But don't pretend that you're on the side of the truth. You know what I mean? If you're going to believe it, if you're not going to believe it, but just know that there are actual facts out there. But if you're going to sit here and say, nope, never happens, not happening at all, then you're not believing the side of the truth. But if you know that it's happening, but you just don't want to believe it, you know what I'm saying? Because I know that it's happening, but I just don't want to believe it. I know that it's the truth, and it's sickening. It's really sickening. So what makes things even worse is that the families of Hamas fighters that perished while attacking Israel, this is just as bad, if you ask me. Do you know that they're actually getting paid? They're getting paid from the Palestinian Authority for the rest of their lives. I said it. It had to be said. It had to be said because you know how when we watch documentaries on like murderers and, you know, killing sprees and what's the motive? What's the motive? Even if you watch a horror movie, what's the motive? What's the motive? Here's your motive. Here's your motive. Here's your sign. Okay? They're getting paid. Under the PA, or the Palestinian Authority law, every extremist who dies attacking Israel is defined as a martyr, whose family is immediately awarded by the PA with 6,000 shekels, or $1,500 a month. It's a grant, and a $1,400 or $353 per month allowance for the rest of their lives. So there's your motive. Yeah. So just think, they're getting $1,800 a month because their family member went out and did the unthinkable. So this means that each of these 1,500 dead extremists who invaded Israel receive $1,800 or 7,400 shekels every month. And families of these extremists who were married and had children, they get even more. They get 2,708. No, my bad. I'm sorry. I have to go this by shekels. 11,100,000 shekels. Shekels. This month, as a reward for participating in that attack, the initial attack, and the atrocities. Yeah, that makes you feel good, don't it? Yeah. What is that called? Hazard pay? Give me a fucking break. I'm sorry for cursing, but it's the truth. Okay? What do our soldiers get? What do they get? I can tell you what my son makes. Ain't nowhere near. Nowhere near. So some of these extremists actually look forward to dying because, you know, their families are going to be taken care of for the rest of their life after they're gone. So what do they care? How sick? How sick is that? Are you okay with that? Because I know I'm not. Now I want to talk about another incident that is very hotly debated. On Tuesday, a massive blast absolutely devastated one of the hospitals in Gaza City. And it's being reported that 500 people perished as a result. But Israel denied that it was the responsible party in that. So intelligence information revealed that the strike, which hit the hospital, was a rocket misfire by Islamic jihadists, okay? But a spokesman for the jihad said that it was completely incorrect and accused the IDF of trying to cover for the horrifying crime and massacre that they committed against civilians. Hamas said the blast was caused by Israeli airstrike. But the IDF said that it was actually a failed rocket that was launched by jihad that caused the explosion. Now, an analysis of IDF operational systems has indicated that the Islamic Jihad terrorist organization is responsible for the failed shooting that hit the hospital. And the military, in a statement, said that the barrage of rockets was fired by extremists in Gaza, passing in close proximity to the hospital in Gaza at the time it was hit. And an IDF spokesperson added that intelligence from multiple sources that they had in their hands indicates that Islamic Jihad was responsible for the failed rocket launch which hit the hospital in Gaza. Israel has since released several different camera angles of the rocket fire showing it was clearly one of their missiles that misfired, and drone footage and yada yada. The U.S. Department of Defense has examined the evidence and also agreed with Israel's conclusion. Now, from what I understand, it didn't hit the hospital at all. It hit the parking lot. So there's that. So, but instead of carefully investigating matters, the entire Islamic world is now in an uproar, and doesn't matter what evidence is presented to the contrary. Why? Representative Rashida Tlaib. Okay, she is a perfect example of such disinformation and is doubling down on her unfounded claim that Israel is responsible for an explosion near the hospital in Gaza. Like I said, near, not on the hospital, near the hospital, because it was the parking lot, declaring at a Wednesday rally in Washington, D.C. that Israel and President Joe Biden are responsible for genocide. Are you flopping serious right now, dude? She said, people think it's okay to bomb a hospital or children. You know, what's so hard sometimes is watching those videos and the people telling the kids don't cry, and like them, that let them cry, shouted Tlaib at the rally. Shut up. Shut up, lady. Then she repeatedly declined to provide any evidence that Israel was responsible for the attack when asked about it by reporters at the Capitol building on Wednesday. It's no wonder. It's no wonder that protesters attempted to storm the Israeli embassy in Jordan. No wonder. Okay, so dozens of protesters, they attempted to storm the Israeli embassy compound on Tuesday after the strike near the hospital, and the angry protesters got through the security force barriers and advanced toward the embassy, but security forces, they fired tear gas and whatnot to disperse them. Okay. And then there was a truly chaotic scene outside the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, where hundreds of protesters reportedly gathered at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut on Tuesday after a rocket, with the Gaza Strip at the hospital. So then the protest came after a Hamas-run hospital on the Gaza Strip that was hit by a rocket on Tuesday, resulting in hundreds of deaths. And then, according to another independent media, more than 100 protesters were near the embassy carrying Palestinian flags. Dude. There is going to be so much chaos and so much violence in the days ahead, but it's not just going to be in the Middle East. No. Okay. The U.S. is absolutely teeming. They're teeming right now with radicals at this point. In the wake of Hamas massacre in Israel, Hamas Lebanon-based Shiite ally Hezbollah warned the United States, because I already talked about this, that if we side with Israel, there will be no red line to prevent attacks on American assets anywhere in the world. All right? So if we enjoy any kind of, whatever kind of leadership we do have, such threats would ring hollow. After all, Hezbollah should not have the capabilities to strike us. The trouble is we left our front door and our back door wide open, and all the windows going too, particularly in Latin America. That makes Hezbollah's threat far more serious. it isn't simply the fact that we have let so many people in to the country directly from Lebanon and Syria and Iran, the countries that finance and train and host Hezbollah and the global network. In the past 20 years, the United States has admitted around 230,000 Iranians, 70,000 Syrians, and 63,000 Lebanese, some of which were ethnic minorities, but the overwhelming majority were Muslims. But like I said, not all Muslims are bad. But now we have them coming in from Iraq, which, thanks to this, it's a safe haven. It's a safe haven for Hezbollah. And we've brought in more than 200,000 Iraqis, half of whom are Shiite. And you might have seen some of them waving Palestinian flags at a celebration of Hamas in Dearborn, Michigan this week. We're going to see things happen on U.S. soil that most people cannot even imagine right now. So I hope you're ready, because, these Islamic extremists seem to care much about the truth. They don't care. They don't care. They just want to win their stupid war. And ultimately, it's a war against the entire civilized world. That's all this is. They started... Their goal is to get every man, woman, and child on the entire planet to submit to Islam. No, thank you. Okay? Anyone that does not submit is to be eliminated. I'm not even going to say it. World domination is what they want, and they have no plans to stop until they reach that goal. Okay? Are you afraid? I'm not, because I got God on my side. That's it. That's all I can say. Jesus. It's scary times, man. Scary, scary times. But you know what? You have to come together as a community. Hold each other up. That's it. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I will see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fear less. Ciao.